Okay, guys, hello, back again for The Last of Us Episode 7. Now, this is going to be a much shorter review than all my other reviews. There's not, despite the length of this episode, there's not actually a whole lot I really want to talk about. There's lots of problems in this episode, and it's one of the, I think, first missteps. Well, not first, but, the show has been going really strong since the first episode's been progressively, getting better and we're in a really good place right now where we left off in episode 6. This episode is taking it a step back, which is not good. And there are also some other problems in the episode that I just wasn't very fond of. It didn't make sense. There were statements that contradict other statements within the own episode, some logical inconsistencies, and I'm not happy about it. Despite, I'm not saying, the show's bad now. I like watching the episode. It's very enjoyable, this episode. It's just not my favorite, and it's definitely not on that level where it should be. And there are a few comparisons we can make between this episode and episode 3. All right, because this episode is entirely flashback. There's maybe 2 to 4 minutes of the entirety of where we left off in the last episode. Ellie basically saves Joel and stitches up his wound with the thread and needle, and then I thought we were gonna get into the Campbell arc, directly, but no, they just sort of implanted this episode here where it probably didn't need to be implemented. I didn't even know if they were gonna, or it didn't even need to be this long, or it didn't need to be its entire episode. We could have got snippets of this flashback. It's an entire flashback. Now, if you're not privy to it, the basis of this is all canon, definitely. Everything's canon. Um, for this episode from the game. This was the DLC section of the game. Maybe I don't exactly remember when the DLC came out, but it's canon too. This is the DLC section of the first game, and I'll just break down the plot very quickly, very short. I'm not gonna go super in depth into it, but basically the plot is Ellie's friend comes back she hasn't seen in a very long time. Ellie's upset. Her friend tries to make it up to her. I have a gift for you. They go to the mall, have a big time, have a great time at the mall, playing games, doing kid shit. And then there's infected there, and her and her friend, they both get infected by this runner, and that's it. That's where the story ends. And then we could know where it goes from there, right? Ellie survives, her friend doesn't. That's the plot of this story. It's super simple. There's a lot of fun things in it, but there's just not too much to talk about. It's a shame, really. It's really a shame because we have, 2 episodes left after this, right? We have episode 8 and 9. The show's over, and at episode 7, they just add another 50-minute flashback right before we have this super intense scene where Joel gets stabbed, and everything is going crazy, and then they just they tonally just kind of ruin that by putting this episode right here, or just making it entirely flashback. They could put just snippets in it. I don't know why they did that. They're running out of time, I guess. Now it's super familiar to episode 3 where we got that flashback of Bill and Frank. Now that flashback was entirely filler to the game. It wasn't canon. Um, However, they did a really good job, making compelling characters in that episode, even though Joel and Ellie weren't really involved. And the plot of that episode could have happened either way if Bill was alive or dead. There's some missteps there as well, but I don't understand why they would do it again. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't really help the story in any way. It doesn't really help our characters in any way either. I guess just to understand, what Ellie is as a character. But I think we're already there, right? After 6 episodes, we already understand the way she acts and how she is. But I'm just not a fan of it. Now, the inconsistencies I was talking about, they make a big deal about how this mall that they go to is sealed off in Fedra. They sealed off this mall because there was a lot of infected, but they also because of that, though, for some reason, the mall is also inside Federal territory, right next to Boston. They literally walk to it in not no time at all, right? So it just doesn't make sense how it's also, if they're not using this place, why is electricity running through it? There's electricity running through it, the entire mall. Machines work, arcade machines work, all the lights, escalators. How are these machines working after 20 years? How are these, like, Fedra's not going to notice all these lights draining power from all the other Fedra stations. Power's like a big thing in this world. They don't notice this. It just doesn't make sense. Also, they talk about the infected, how they had to seal it off. Why would the power still be working there in the first place? Why wouldn't they just cut it off? If they've been there before and they know there's infected inside, why would they make it so the mall's like draining their electricity? Also, there's not actually any infected inside. Only literally one infected, and apparently it only wakes. Apparently, her friend here, Ellie's friend's been squatting because she's a Firefly now, and she's gonna be working with the Fireflies, try to destroy Fedra. She's been living here for a few days, maybe even weeks, with all the lights on, and like who knows what she's been like doing things, trying to prepare her gift for Ellie, which is just this entire mall experience. And she didn't wake up the one infected that's been there, but now that Ellie's there, it gets woken up. What's happening? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's sad watching these two characters interact, knowing that she dies and Ellie stays alive. But it's just not. It's super important for what happens in the plot. I wanted. It's really a misstep because they've been skipping a lot of time between the Joel and Ellie interactions. They have been. Now, what we do have is really good, but we really need more of that. We need more. So I'm hoping in the next episode we get some more of that. But I know where we're going because we're going to the cannibal arc, and then we're gonna get the last part section from the game of the show. Now, everything else in the episode, it's just like these weird things. Everything else, all the sets, the aesthetic of the show, the lighting, the music, the sound, it's all great. This is also one for one from the DLC, pretty much like same dialogue. Well, except for the inconsistencies with the lighting in the mall, it doesn't make sense at all. Not a lick of sense, or the infected. But it's still very good. They're still doing a great adaptation toward the game. I mean, they really are. The credit where credit is due. It's just this one episode's a bit of a step back from the last one and all the other ones as well. They're still going strong. I'm just not happy about like this section. I don't know why they had to do this again. Having multiple flashbacks that don't, circle back in a way towards the main plot aren't very good. And you can have some standalone episodes in your shows that are just maybe like one-off characters that do some sort of thing. It's kind of it's not, you can get away with it once, you can't get away with it twice. Is what I'm trying to say. They did it already. Why would they do it again? It's not helping the story. So I think I'm gonna just leave it off there. I still enjoy the episode. Go watch the episode. It's fun to watch. It's fun for sure. It's just not the best. Hopefully, next episode's gonna be better. We should be getting into the cannibal arc, so it's gonna be crazy. I keep alluding to it. It's gonna be nuts, that arc. I don't know what they're gonna change, or they might still change the ending of this series. Who knows what they're gonna do? They might. I said this before in all my other reviews too. We gotta be careful about how they're gonna change those scenes because they're definitely gonna have a second season of this, and they're gonna be adapting The Last of Us 2 for sure. There's no way in hell they won't be. It's Neil's, child. He loves The Last of Us 2. Um, it's his baby, so they're definitely gonna. And this show's been getting progressively better reception since the beginning. So there's no way that won't happen. All right, I'm done rambling. If you like this episode, that's cool. It's fine. If you don't like this series, that's fine too, I guess. You guys have a good day. See ya.